Good afternoon. My name is Ian Nita. I'm from the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, and with me is Arlene Martin from ActionCOACH. And today we will be your hosts on this, our first in the series of conversations that we will be streaming live and that we will hopefully make a positive impact on businesses as we enter this post-COVID period. We have a number of objectives that we're trying to achieve in these series. And the first of which is to educate business owners, leaders, and managers in key areas for leading and managing through the crisis.
Our second objective in this series is to share information as well as resources for practical application in order to emerge from the crisis as a success.
And to build a unified community as our business leaders share their own approaches and insights that others may apply, as together we help to strengthen the private sector and the economy post-COVID-19.
So there are two ways that we're going to be doing this. We introduced that today we're having conversations and we're launching conversations. Every Thursday, we'll be having conversations with business leaders, business managers to help us. And every Tuesday, we'll be having Tuesday Tips hosted by Coach Marcia Woon-Choi of ActionCOACH, sharing practical information for business leaders and managers.
And we're kicking off this series with none other than the Honorable Minister Audley Shaw, who is the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Fisheries and Agriculture. And we're happy to have him on this program today. However, this interview was pre-recorded because of the very, very tight schedule of the minister. So we had to slot him in, and so it may not be as current as you may want it to be. But however, it's a very interesting and engaging interview, and we really appreciate the minister taking the time to share with us in a very critical ministry that affects us all. So we're going to be showing the video that was recorded, and then we're going to go into a series of questions and answers and have a discussion around that interview afterwards. So here is the video.
Minister Audley Shaw, we're delighted to have you with us today at the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce in the first of our series of conversations that we're having with business leaders. But it's always good to lead off with some direction from the government and the public sector. So I'm very happy that you have embraced this invitation to share with us today. And Minister, I'd just like to start off by asking you, do you see any opportunities coming out of this crisis, COVID? Is there any advice you would have for us as business leaders?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. The short answer is that in every crisis, there's an opportunity. The issue is find that opportunity. There are seeds of opportunity, and we need to find the seeds and sow them fast. But in Jamaica's case, the truth is that COVID or no COVID, we have had our problems. And so while we use COVID as a part of the point of departure, the issue is that our potential existed before COVID, and if anything now needs to be accelerated during and after COVID. Because as you know, my ministry covers industry, commerce, agriculture, and fisheries. So there's a lot of cross connection there. What we need to do in Jamaica, we for instance, have had a sugar industry several hundred years old, which itself has been growing and processing, right? And Jamaica now needs to really aggressively get into the program of diversification into other areas other than sugar, for which we're not short of land across the country. We have sugar lands that are idle, and we have a lot of idle land in the country. what we have to do is to carefully, in this transition process, target the areas that need to be targeted. And the good news is that we have a lot of people who are expressing interest in acquiring, leasing land from government to get into other things. We have made small and large. So examples now would be the micro-leasing project at Innswood, where they have leased almost 3,000 acres already. They're actually looking to go to 10,000 acres eventually. And in fact, they have just started this week to reap West Indian peppers, and shortly we'll be reaping this month as well Irish potatoes, where they have actually put in pilot projects. Then of course you have the major Bernard Lodge project that that itself is about to commence. And in that Bernard Lodge project, which we've had a lot of negative publicity, but the truth is, of the 5,000 acres targeted under the Bernard Lodge project, 3,000 acres of that will remain in intensive agriculture, technologically driven agriculture. And of the other 2,000 acres, some will be housing, yes, and some will be township, urban renewal, urban development.
So, Minister, staying on the subject of agriculture, do you envision in the near future that Jamaica could be as ambitious to attain food security, that we could be independent in the supply of our food, even with supplying the tourism industry?
Well, let me say, right now we are importing close to $1 billion of food. And the truth is that we can do much better than what we're doing now. And this is part of the opportunity. All these idle hands, and we need to turn it around now in a positive way. And the two examples I gave you a while ago are excellent examples, because they will include the whole issue of mother-farm relationships as well, where large farms will engage with small farmers, provide technology for them, provide some upfront financial support for the acquisition of raw materials and so on. And importantly, give them the guarantee that what is produced will be acquired and they'll get a reasonable compensation for it. The challenge for us has been that we do not do enough vertical integration. So we have tended to produce a lot, then what can't sell will go to waste, that sort of thing. That's not going to happen anymore.
But cannot be sold fresh, locally or overseas, need to be processed, right? So we need to, and we are targeting the aggressive development of an agro-industry in Jamaica. We already have one, but we need to significantly expand the agro-industry sector. And the good news is, apart from those new projects I mentioned to you, there are other established companies like Candid, for instance, who is in a partnership with the government of Jamaica at Hounslow in St. Elizabeth, where we are already processing a lot of things. In fact, last week I went out to 3 Plains to watch the reaping of 10,000 pounds of red peppers, same West Indian peppers, and so we should destroy. The reporter down at the Agro Park at Spring Plains is now reaping 10,000 pounds of pepper per week. And Grace Kennedy is taking off all of it. It goes to the Hounslow Processing Center, where they are processing it into pepper mash. And then, of course, all the other derivatives, such as their very famous pepper sauces, that are targeted not just to the Jamaican market, but very importantly targeted to the overseas markets, such as the Jamaican diaspora in England, the United States, and Canada, right? These are the patterns now that will be followed in respect of many other products that are short-term crops, such as the ones I mentioned. Some of them I mentioned a while ago. Then you have your long-term crops, which we also have to target. We have to target orchard crops. We have to target mangoes. And happily, on Sunday gone, I witnessed the export of mangoes to the United States. I was at the airport, seeing all our Julie and East Indian mangoes going into Miami. And the Jamaicans are just up there lining up, wanting the mangoes, right? Because, by the way, no other country in the world produces mangoes of the taste and quality of the Jamaican mango. It's an amazing thing. Mango being produced in the Dominican Republic. Mango being produced in Mexico. Jamaicans laugh at that.
Yes.
Because there is no comparison with our mangoes. So right now we have gotten USDA approval for mango orchards that are in St. Thomas. And this is one of the areas now of a direct opportunity. We want people to begin, not just to plant one tree in the backyard. Take a piece of land and put in an orchard, because an orchard that is developed and is run in the proper cytosanitary conditions will then automatically get approval for export to the United States and other countries, right? So those are just examples. There are so many other orchard crops. You have sauerkraut, you have green plum, you have crumbler, you have a whole range of them. By the way, you know what we do right now? With all of those things, we are selling those juices in our local supermarkets. You know where the raw material comes from? Imported puree. We are importing those puree, processing them locally for sale to Jamaicans in Jamaica. When every one of those line items we can produce better orchard crops in Jamaica, and instead of importing our puree, we can produce our own puree. And I have to comment through Bruce, by the way, who, yes, they're importing a lot of the purees, but they have just started a pilot project using locally produced pineapples and tomatoes, touched with a little ginger. They've created a puree around those three raw materials, and they're calling it school, right? Because we're going to be targeting it to the school once we reopen as part of the school feeding program.
We're very encouraged by the prospect of feeding ourselves and exporting exotic crop particularly to the diaspora. And you mentioned the diaspora quite a bit. I'm just wondering if there's a place for Jamaicans living abroad to come home. We noticed during the COVID environment, there was a lot of online activity and a lot of people are moving into that space. Can we have Jamaicans living here, working from Jamaica in industry and serving the world? Do you see a trend in that direction?
It's not can. We must do it. We must do it on different platforms. Embracing the technology of the day is part of it. And let me just go through that briefly. First of all, not only should we replace what we are importing, but we must build the surpluses so that we can export as well.
Yeah.
So you look at our markets. We have the tourists, right? Then what's the next natural one? We have CARICOM, for which we have duty-free access to 15 countries in the CARICOM region. Then we have our diaspora, as you mentioned, right? You know the problem in our diaspora? They're crying out for Jamaican products and can't get it. And they can't get it because we're not producing it. So we have to change that and change it fast. Now, one of the ways to guarantee, not just through the mother farm concept I mentioned to you before, but if farmers know, we have 230,000 of them, if our small farmers know that what they produce, there'll be a guaranteed take-up at a reasonable price. They are not lazy. They will get into production. And what I want to tell them, I want to let them know that there's a new landscape that is fast emerging. We're about to divest the AMC complex on Firestone Road to the private sector. in partnership with the government. But government not going to own AMC anymore. They own AMC concept.
Right.
The private sector, right? Set up your processing plant down there, purchase the thing, what you can package it, what you can sell fresh, you process it into various things, which companies like Grace Candid already have the skills. Then there are other companies that are coming out now. You have, for instance, Richard Lake, that has taken over the old National Meats complex in St. Anne, right? Litchford Logistics.
Yeah.
They are looking now for fresh stuff. They have storage space, and they are targeting processing as well. Not only are they targeting the hotels, especially on the North Coast, they're also looking at CARICOM as a market that they'll be penetrating.
Right.
Then you have a company like Jam Processors at Manchester in Williamsfield. Jam Processors quietly doing a lot of things. They export up to 6 containers of yam abroad per week. The United States sends their inspectors down to Williamsfield, to inspect and to look at everything before it actually goes out and shipping. And what Jam Processors is doing now is they're widening into things like pumpkins, sweet potato, so on, and they are now building a processing factory so that what they don't sell fresh, they'll process it into a range of things for sale to our markets abroad. Then you have other companies like the same Rainforest and CPJ who primarily import things. They now want to also get into the business of value added into agro-processing. So in short, the future is really exciting.
Right.
And it's something that we have to accelerate and use the COVID-19 opportunity to really build it out fast.
Right. Minister, you mentioned the regional markets.
Yes.
And we have not been on the beneficial end necessarily for interregional trade. Jamaica has not come out on top in that regard. But we find that in crisis, countries are brought together to solve common problems. Do you see a better future for regional trade coming out of COVID? Do we need to get together to expand our market opportunities?
Absolutely, because look at most of our partners in the region. They don't have enough land to produce much, with the exception maybe of Trinidad, they have a little land. Ghana, they have a lot of land.
Right.
Jamaica would be outside of Ghana, Jamaica is the place that really have a lot of idle land.
Right.
We need to put into production. And as I said before, we have duty-free entry into these countries. They are importing, most of them are importing all of their foods from abroad because they don't have the space to grow things for themselves. So why not purchase it from Jamaica?
Yes.
Right? And they have duty-free access as well. So that is why on our radar, that is a major part because we and I agree with you, we have not explored that opportunity adequately.
So true.
So it is part of the new landscape that we are targeting. And I have to mention this because in your question, you left it wide enough. One of the things we have to double down on is also the whole business of using new platforms. So you're exporting things. So you have specialized markets where you might just be sending 2 or 3 little bottles of things.
Yes.
Right?
Boutique.
But there are things that we have to do to correct that, to correct the opportunity. For instance, we have Jamaica Customs that charges a lot of money to export maybe a couple bottles. Now, we have approached customs already and the Minister of Finance. We can't be charging as much money as the cost of the product.
No.
To export a couple bottles using the platform of that platform of trading.
Yes.
Because if we don't change that, then you make it right away uncompetitive for sale into the international market. There are realignments that have to be done.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Especially in example, customs and its charges.
Absolutely. Well,
to ensure that we have a competitive platform.
And our members have complained to us and have asked us to lobby on their behalf to try and get the cost of exporting down significantly so we can open up those opportunities.
Yes, because some people saying it's easier to import than to export.
Yeah, it is.
And we have to target that one. It cannot be that we can have all these purees that we're importing in Jamaica. So we lean back at home and drink our sauce and drink our June plum juice and all, and everything is being imported. When we are suffering from idle land and idle land in Jamaica. This cannot continue.
Doesn't add up.
And this has nothing to do with COVID-19. This is something that we needed to be doing long before COVID-19.
True. But getting back to COVID-19 and the effect it has had on businesses, as you know, over the last 3 months, a number of businesses have suffered significantly. Many of them have closed, and some of them may close permanently. But in the post-COVID period and the need to really re-engineer and retool and get starting up again, they're going to need some financing. Many of the companies. Do you have any advice for them? Any direction that you can point them to in order to secure the financing that is going to be needed?
Yes, well, absolutely. And what we've had to do, as you are aware, through the Minister and Ministry of Finance, is to provide some short-term easement.
The stimulus package and so on.
In different categories.
Okay.
Right? One of them, for instance, is a fund, I think it's close to $1 billion, at least 800 million, that is being targeted to support small and medium-sized businesses that are in trouble.
Yes.
With some grant funding.
Yes.
But certainly, in the longer term, we have to reorder the business of access to funding. And let me mention a few of those windows. The People's Cooperative Bank, have to restore that, and we're working on it.
Yes.
Okay? PC Bank, so small farmers can get access to funding through the PC Bank. We're working on that. The Export-Import Bank, Exim Bank.
Yes.
Exim Bank has become a major source of support for our MSMEs as well, right? But the Exim Bank is in need of some recapitalization, and that's an issue that I've been working with.
Exim Bank, yes, okay.
Of course, you have the Development Bank of Jamaica, right?
Right.
And that here again, we have to look at how the DBJ have to step in terms of assisting in that process of additional creative financing. Then we must not forget the platform of equity financing.
True.
The stock exchange.
Yes.
You will recall that when I was Minister of Finance, I established a junior stock exchange in 2009.
Yes.
And it was part of the program of encouraging raising money by equity rather than expensive borrowing from banks when interest rates were just far too high anyway.
Yeah.
That's how the junior stock exchange was established.
Right.
By the way, when I became Minister of Finance again in 2016, I came in early March. The previous government was going to lock down the junior stock exchange by the end of March because the IMF said so. The man, I think, is from Belgium or somewhere. He says, well, others can afford it, but Jamaica can't. Can you imagine that? He said, we can't afford it. Well, the first thing I did when I became Minister of Finance again was to order the reopening of the stock exchange. And it's going on now and growing and doing very well. A lot of companies are using that platform. It is now so successful that it has made Jamaica's stock exchange one of the fastest growing in the world. In the world. And the next step I want to do is then discuss with the Minister of Finance establish another stock exchange for microfinancing. It's a platform globally called the Nano Stock Exchange, right? So it's smaller than the Junior Stock Exchange, where you can then target a more modest levels of funding, smaller businesses, and give them a platform as well.
Okay.
We have to be creative about getting financing at reasonable rates into the hands of our investors. But I have to say to you, we've suffered for far too long from the high cost of money in Jamaica.
Okay.
Happily, I'm able to say to you that a lot of businesses are now accessing money at 7% and 6% interest rate. In fact, in some of the small hotels are getting money through Exim Bank at 4% interest rate.
Okay.
And these are the kind of things that we have to continue to support.
Right. Minister, we want to wrap with you today by indicating to you that we at the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, we sponsor the consumer and the business confidence indices. And it's published quarterly. And we're in the field now. And just anecdotally, the indications are that confidence is waning. And particularly because of this uncertain period that we're living in.
Yes.
I wonder if there's anything that you could say to the business community that would instill confidence. And I also wonder if you could comment on any particular practices that you're seeing right now or developments that you would like to see corrected from an outside looking in on the business community. What advice would you have for us?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say to our business people, the crisis of COVID-19 is a real crisis.
Yes.
And not because I'm part of the government, but I think we really should commend the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health, right? As well as the Minister of Finance, Minister of Local Government, that they really have grabbed the problem with both hands, all of them.
Yes.
And the government has grabbed it. And if you look at the trend internationally, Jamaica has been bucking that trend,
Yes.
right? Consider that in the region, we have had only 10 deaths. I mean, that's 10 deaths too many.
Yeah.
But 10 deaths we have had. And of the just over 600 cases of positive tests, over 400 of them gone home, cured.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are doing fairly well with it.
Yeah.
What we therefore have to do now, and that's why there's been some controversy as to the timing of the gradual reopening that has started.
Yes.
When we're opening up our hotels,
Right.
so that the connection back to, for instance, our farmers and our other processed foods and so on can get access back into the hotels. And of course, you have hundreds of thousands of people who have been without jobs.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised at all that you had some negative perceptions in your surveys.
Yes.
Because it has been it's an unprecedented period in the world, and in Jamaica's case, where so much has been locked down, opportunities have been locked down, money locked down, everything locked down, and people have been suffering.
Yeah.
So at the same time, though, I think we need to commend the Minister of Finance and the government for putting aside resources. We got support from the IMF as well.
Correct.
An extra $500 million US was provided.
Right.
And we have been providing support. We have the compassionate grant funding for people that have had no jobs at all and been in trouble with just routine. And I think the $10,000 assistance has helped them.
Yeah, of course.
Then, of course, as I mentioned, the help for the small and medium-sized businesses as well. And a whole range of others, the several 100,000 tourist hotel workers themselves have gotten support as well. But all of that is just the interim. And that's why it's absolutely important that we build out aggressively
Yes.
getting back to into a near normal situation, while at the same time recognizing that our way forward will probably never be the same.
Never.
And we
So
have to be cautious,
Of course.
right? We have to observe the social distancing rules.
Yeah.
Everywhere, whether it's in our bars, in our restaurants, and our beaches that are being opened as well. It's a work in progress, and I want to say to our business people, don't lose confidence.
Okay.
Don't lose confidence. And because what the government is doing is ensuring that we use every opportunity, and as I explained to you, using our own development banking windows, Exim Bank, DBJ, People's Cooperative Bank,
Yes.
stock markets,
Yes.
right? Getting all those windows open so that businesses can have access to adequate funding, either at reasonable interest rates or on an equity-based system, so we can get on with life. I'm told that even the company that is
Doing this
doing this
production.
interview right now
They are members of the stock exchange.
is a
Junior stock
creature
exchange.
of the junior stock
Absolutely.
exchange. After I rescued it.
Yes, in that post
After
period.
I rescued
Yes,
it,
so
and they are here now.
absolutely,
Here we go.
absolutely.
You know, I have to share this with you as we wrap up.
Yes.
That, you know, in the 1960s, Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore came to visit Jamaica.
Yes.
Why? Because Jamaica was one of the countries growing at the fastest rate in the world. We were growing at an annual average of 6% per year.
Mm-hmm.
Lee Kuan Yew came here to see what we were doing. Okay? I'm not gonna brag and say it was the Labour Party, but it was. And he went back to Singapore. And today, the per capita income in Singapore is 60,000 United States dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Average income per person. Okay, well, what happened to us? We went into excursions in the 70s looking at socialism and all kinds of something.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And we did made all kinds of mistakes. Today, what is our per capita income? Just under 6,000 US dollars. Singapore is 60,000 US dollars, and we are less than 6,000 US dollars. I say this to say that we have a lot of catching up to do,
Mm-hmm.
and to do it fast.
Okay.
We have to rescue our future. We have to rescue our young people. We have to give them opportunities, and the opportunities are bound. And we just have to settle down,
Mm-hmm.
work hard, work fast, and rescue Jamaica's future. Because we are a hard-working, resilient set of people. What we need is the right guidance, the right direction. And with God's help, we can create the wealth that we need to create right here in Jamaica.
Honorable Minister Odeshaw, it's always a pleasure engaging with you. Thank you very much for your wise words, and commendations to you and your government for the good job that you're doing in charting a course through this very, very difficult time. And you can count on us, the business community, to work with you. Thank you very much,
Thank
Minister.
you. I know we can't shake
Right.
hands.
Thank you.
Here you go. Except maybe I should do it this way.
All right, Minister. Thank you very much.
Yes, and on that lighter note, that really brought it to an end. I know that Honorable Minister Shaw would never be able to keep his little politics out of it, but you know, it's always good to hear him speak. He's one of those ministers that he brings a bit of levity and mixes it very well with the serious business of industry, commerce, and agriculture and fisheries. Aline, it's really, you know, just listening to that interview again, it made me feel really good that you know, ActionCOACH and Jamaica Chamber of Commerce could really get together and bring to our audience this type of discourse because it's so
Yes.
critical, especially at this time.
I agree. And interestingly, as you were interviewing the minister, I felt like it's time to interview you on some of
No.
those things.
Well,
So-
it's let's throw it out there because we would like our audience to kind of just tell us who is it
Yes.
that they would like to hear from in this series, because it's a
Exactly.
fairly dynamic series. We want to adjust it to the needs of our audience, and any particular industry leader, government practitioner
Yes.
that you would like us to interview, just send us a comment and we will pursue that path. But Arlene, it is interesting how the minister, with such a wide ranging portfolio,
Yes.
he picked out agriculture, and he spent quite a bit of time on
and touching
agriculture.
on exports of agriculture as well.
Yes. And it's I think that is a signal that he is sending, that no economy can really perform unless you have a very good agricultural base, unless you can be self-sufficient, unless you can feed your people and then provide that surplus in which to export. And I'd like to invite some comments on what we see as the minister's strategy going forward. It seems to me that he has a fairly comprehensive strategy. So he focuses on the production, and particularly on exotic produce like mangoes and so on.
Correct.
Then he talked a little bit about the warehousing and what he wants to do with AMC.
And the logistics of it. So that takes care of, so that we can get it out of our country and to our export markets.
Yes.
And talk about technology in agriculture as well.
Absolutely. And then agri-industry, which takes care of the surplus.
Yes. So I have, I suppose, a couple of questions, maybe just discussion for you in terms of your thoughts and follow-up specifically on it. And by the way, he mentioned agricultural exports, so we want to recognize Carita Jamaica Limited and Dawson Trading in terms of the exporters. They're looking at that. When you think, so Jamaica, we describe St. Elizabeth, I hope I got the parish right, as a breadbasket for Jamaica.
Absolutely, you're correct.
The Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, I believe they describe and believe that the Latin American region, which therefore includes Latin America and the Caribbean, Jamaica, as the breadbasket for the world when it comes to Jamaica. And they're seeing the region as the breadbasket for the world. And when we look at things that are happening with agriculture now globally, the dairy industry suffering globally, just a number of other factors, is how important is it therefore for Jamaica to continue to build a strong agricultural sector so that we can play our part and increase our participation in global agricultural exports. And I know that the chamber works in agriculture as well. So, just some thoughts from you as well in terms of what would you say to members of the agriculture community now and the partners in that industry to continue to move it forward?
Absolutely. So if we step back a little bit and think about diversification from an economy, first and foremost, we are absolutely too exposed to tourism.
Yes.
We have to diversify out of tourism. And I think a natural diversification should take place into agriculture because the two are so intertwined. So there was a time when you were approaching exports to cross geographical borders. But there's no longer that need because you can export to the visitors who come here by first and foremost feeding them. So that is important. But in order to find out what they want when they, to find out their diets, we have to do some research. So we shouldn't be producing pumpkins if what they want is mangoes. So I think that we should be driven by what the market is dictating and ensure that we are producing in sufficient quantities, and we can guarantee the supply. And it doesn't take any magic to work it out. The farmers need financing, and the hotels need a guaranteed supply and a certain type of quality. So that part. But then to expand it to the wider region, because the minister touched on the region, which is CARICOM, but we should extend it into LATAM.
Yes.
Because
I agree.
We need bigger markets to be able to support. It is there's no question about the quality of our produce.
You know, interestingly, we now have a comment from Sylvia Mitchell, and Sylvia Mitchell's at the University Tropical Research Center, I believe. So please correct me, Sylvia, if it's the same person, if you're still at UWI there. And her comment here in the live comment is, we cannot excel in agriculture until we apply biotechnology. Thank you so much. This is something that we'll definitely share with the ministry, especially the production of clean planting materials. And I know that there's research being done on that. I understand that. And I know there have been challenges with the Rural Agricultural Development Agency, RADA, and they are, however, still doing their extension work. And it's a good point to note in terms of, clean planting material as something that we will look at. So thank you for that comment, Sylvia. And then just to go back to you, Ian, in terms of what you were saying with agriculture and tourism. And the government of Jamaica with its partners, with the stakeholders. Yes, the Biotechnology Center at UWI. Thank you, Sylvia Mitchell. That's where she is. So, so people interested can look at what is happening at the Biotechnology Center at the UWI as it relates to agriculture, but we'll tap into that as well. So you were talking about tourism and agriculture, and the government of Jamaica with partners. I think they've done a pretty good job of tourism linkages, not only in agriculture with the connection and the network that they have now for sourcing. And recently there was an UNCTAD report, and there was previously a regional report. Now it's a global report that UNCTAD has done on COVID-19 and tourism and its impact. And a number of people are referring to the impact in terms of where Jamaica ranks in terms of what the fallout could be, not just in the tourism sector, but also our GDP, because of the significance of tourism, but also because of the penetration of tourism. And I'm wondering from that study is, because what they've done is they've looked at how connected and how integrated is tourism into other sectors of the economy, and therefore that's why its impact is so significant. So, when we look at crisis, there's opportunity as well. However, in this particular situation, I think we've done a good enough job with linkages such that tourism being impacted is now impacting other sectors. So it's a good thing that it's strongly connected. We're feeling it now. However, on the opportunity side, is it that our ability to grow our agricultural sector or to sustain it, because we have that market of tourism, as you were talking about, Ian, how does that set us up for positioning for diversification, for now leveraging biotechnology, as Sylvia Mitchell pointed out, and for increased exports? Just thoughts on taking this crisis and leading it into opportunity in this area.
Well, let me just lead off a little by talking about what Sylvia just introduced, the biotechnology. One of the factors that prevents growth in agriculture is our the cost of production. Because, a lot of people say, why don't you eat what you grow? But if the cost of producing locally is far more expensive than importing, then you're going to import. All the input items in agriculture, nearly all of them, from the water where the cutlass, the fertilizer, the seeds, everything is being imported. And so with a dollar that we have, in terms of the exchange rates and all of that, the cost of it's all well and good to say let's produce more, but we have to bring the cost down. So if we can use biotechnology now, which is value added locally, to bring down the cost, then that gives us a better competitive advantage and pushes us along the way of import substitution. We're taking steps. The current Minister of Tourism has formed this linkages committee. I think it's headed by Adam Stewart, and they are looking at ways of integrating both. But we have to move beyond just supplying locally to the export markets as well. And I think that it has to be a concentrated effort. And I'm very happy to see that the minister really focused a lot in his presentation on agriculture, because it's going to be the way forward. The breadbasket, as you spoke about in St. Elizabeth, addressing irrigation, is going to be critical. Irrigation, how you get to market, and how you store excesses. We are a country that we're plagued with droughts.
True.
And if we don't manage that so that we can produce a surplus, store it, and convert it in times of good weather, and then when the weather is bad, like you're having your droughts, then you have your irrigation in place.
Right.
But certainly, it's refreshing to see a minister step out and lead and champion agriculture.
And just championing a couple of other things, and I want you to comment on a couple of other areas as well, because he spoke about agriculture and export, which I just mentioned. He spoke about technology as well, and I know you were asking about leveraging technology with our labor force for services export. So if you can touch on that. And then another thing that he spoke about when he spoke about finance was different aspects of finance, which is critical now for companies to now emerge from this, to grow and to become more resilient. When he spoke about finance, it was access to finance. He spoke about development finance, but he also spoke about private equity finance, and their different initiatives. So, choose one first, the finance, services, export, and technology, or just choose one. Thoughts as well as positions and efforts of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce in these areas.
Let's look at finance, because it is clear to me that the legacy of the Ministry of Finance remains with this minister. You can tell that he still has a passion for finance, and he has built a very good foundation too. So kudos goes to him. But it is also important to mix finance. Finance is at the base of every growth and development. It doesn't matter how great an idea you have. It doesn't matter how much technology you have available to you, unless you have the financing to take advantage of that, then you will just be dreaming. So I think that his mention of the development bank financing, where it's not spoken about enough, and there's financing available. I mean, IDB has come out, even the IMF has come out with programs post-COVID. I know certainly the IDB, and we need to spread this word among our businesses so that they can take advantage of the new financing. But he mentioned the nano stock exchange.
Yes.
And when you mention the nano stock exchange, you're speaking now to the heart of the real small businesses. The people who are making jewelry, the craft people, even the small farmers. They should be able to access financing once they have a good idea, and once they have the organization, they should be able to come to the market and get support.
Yes.
So I was happy to hear him talk about the nano stock exchange, which would be an extension then of the junior stock exchange, which has done extremely well. In this time, I mean, we are seeing our stock market sort of moving from being the top performer in the world a year or two ago to really, I mean, sliding precipitously down. And we need to reawaken people's minds and attention towards moving to the stock exchange. I know the stock exchange is working significantly, but Arlene, this is going to be a very difficult year. We're expecting 11%.
It's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be a year of lessons and of strengthening, like you do weight training and you get more resilient. So let us consider it that way. It is going to be a year like that.
Right. So we should brace for it, and we should look for the opportunities. And there are some gems around. I read where a bit like Amars is going to expand, and that
in retail.
In retail. And I'm saying, whoa, you have JCPenney closing, Victoria's Secret closing, all these department stores
in Europe, in England, in the United Kingdom, in Europe, retail stores are closing and are suffering globally.
And I was so heartened to read that Amars is saying, no, I'm stepping out. I'm stepping out, and I'm going to take advantage of this period. I remember when in 2008, when we had the recession. And Sanders decided that, I'm going to take advantage of this. And that is when Sanders expanded you know, they were a 3-star hotel, and they decided I'm going to step up to a 5-star, 6-diamond hotel and just find a space in which I can excel. And people would look at them and say, you're crazy in this period. Why are you investing? Well, that's the same attitude I think we need to take in this period. We should be looking for the opportunities to expand our businesses and to grow and look for the opportunities. Jamaica can step out as a leader right now in the Caribbean, and to address your technology question, because so not only must we be self-sufficient in agriculture, we must move towards self-sufficiency in energy. We have too much sunshine, we have too much wind, we have too much water, not to expand in this space, right? And of course, because people are now working from home and recognizing the technology, the online technology that's available, we don't have to, you know, our people don't have to migrate anymore. You can stay right here and reach any corner of the world using the online technology that is available to us to set ourselves as a center of excellence in the Caribbean. We obviously need to get some of the fundamentals right. We need improved telecommunications. We need lower crime. We definitely we are way out in left field as far as crime is concerned. We need to get that under control. We need to get corruption under control, you know, in order for us to be seen as a place that is easy to do business with. And therefore, because our image is bad in certain respects, you know, if you have a country that is seen as corrupt, then people are not going to want to do business there. So we have some fundamentals to address, but certainly it's a time of opportunity for us in this post-COVID period.
And, you know, you say that it's a time of opportunity, and I think that's how we'd like to treat it. And that's exactly why the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and ActionCOACH have joined to do this. So as we said, it's about the interviews, it's about hearing from people. And there are already some people that we have lined up to speak to business managers, business leaders. Next week, we'll be hearing from a couple of companies that will help in terms of how do you prepare to go back out in terms of air conditioning, cleaning supply, so Delta Supply as well as CAC 2000. So hearing from companies like that. Eventually, we were going to hear from Rita Hilton. We spoke about Carita Jamaica Limited earlier as one of the companies and the main company for the mango exports recently. And starting on Tuesday, we're going to have business tips. So basically, just online streaming of practical business tips for us to really grow through this period. So we want you to continue to listen to us every Tuesday and Thursday in terms of what we have coming up. And these are to foster exactly what it is that you're talking about, Ian. It is growing out of this. There are reports about a possible direction for Jamaica. However, I think we are in control, and the more that we equip and work with our business leaders, I think the better we're able to influence exactly how Jamaica emerges from this. So we're looking forward to continuing to hear from everyone. We're looking forward to the conversations, the chats, and really to the results that we're going to hear from all the successes. You spoke about just the strength and resilience of Jamaican businesses, and really the courage where we have examples of stepping out not only in this time, but previous periods of recession. So we're facilitating that, not just talking about it, but really empowering and equipping our business leaders, business managers in order to do it. And so we'll be here every Thursday for interviews and conversations to take us there. And every Tuesday, Coach Marcio Woon-Choi will be giving some practical business tips. So, as a main partner, Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, what's your message? How would you like to close us out this afternoon, Ian, for the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce?
Well, you know what? I would like to close out with the charge that the minister left us with, that, we started out on the same basis as Singapore when they came in the late 1960s and asked us, how did we get our economy to grow 5%, 6%, and 7% per year? And today they have a per capita income which is 10 times ours. So our charge is really, let's catch them up. Let's get on board and let us create wealth for Jamaica and Jamaicans, you know, and that's what I'd leave with today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being with you, Ian.
Always. See you next week.
Yes, so we'll be on next week, and we'll see everyone next week.
All right. Thank you, Arlene. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Ian. Bye.
Bye-bye.